nice question. Thank you. I think there's different levels. I think for me, I've been in this role, so as the co-CEO of the company, essentially when our boss started this company in 2005, he was 19 years old, and he became the CEO at 22. And back then he was in boardroom, sitting on board tables and getting asked questions that were just thrown at him and actually having solutions that he could deliver. And I think there was a lot of times where the heads were turning, being like, how is this young one having how does he have a solution to end inequality in Australia for Indigenous people? I think back then he was quite surprised by that. So now, since we've been able to work for this company, so essentially build a bridge between university and high school for disadvantaged kids across the country. We started off with 25 Indigenous kids just around the corner from Waterloo at Alex Park School. And back then it was grade 9 students, and essentially those kids weren't graduating, they weren't even going to pass grade 9, let alone going into grade 12, let alone thinking about university and all that sort of stuff. So the founder of AIMÉ decided to take 25 of his mates from the University of Sydney and take them over to start a mentoring program. And essentially from that success and being able to get them through grade 9 to grade 12, then they're actually thinking about those post-positive pathways, whether that be university or educational training employment. So that was something that was really important back then, whereas now, because we've been able to expand the organisation to work across the country, so we work out of 18 universities in Australia across 45 regions, and that's with about 350 schools. So we essentially bring kids onto the university campus up to 5 times throughout the year to deliver some educational programs in order for them to think about more life skill setting, so whether that be goal setting, sacrifices, identity, all that sort of stuff. So essentially, when this program for the co-CEO was built, it was to accelerate young Indigenous people into executive leadership positions. So it was started just under 3 years ago. So I'm the third co-CEO. The first one was 2 years ago. Second one last year is our deputy CEO at the moment, and then myself now. So when I did walk into this role in January this year, I'd only been about 2 months out of university. I had done 101 assignments on management and the theory of it and all that sort of stuff. I had no idea how to manage people, let alone lead people for an organisation sort of base. I feel like you do a lot of stuff growing up, whether it be in community or in other organisations or volunteering and all that sort of stuff, depending on where you kind of grow up. But essentially, both my parents, they only went to around a grade 10 level of education. And the pathway that was kind of pushed for my dad was footy, because we're all good at football. And then for my mother, it was to be a mother or to work and to do that sort of thing. So they became young parents. Mum had my sister at a week after turning 17. And Dad was working at that time. And when I was born, Dad decided to go into university because that was the pathway that he thought would be most successful for us as a family, to pivot our story into an educational focused family. So for me, growing up, I was walking around the University of Queensland, and to me it was it was like a playground to me, but it was also a sort of place where I found as I grew up it became a little bit more intimidating. So for me, I didn't choose that university, but essentially the way that I kind of connected with AIM was in 2010. As a grade 9 high school student, I went into the Queensland University of Technology to take part in the AIM program. So I had no problem about going into university. That was always going to be my dream and my passion. But where I wanted to go afterwards, I would go to school and I had peers that weren't only questioning my Aboriginality and who I was there, but also what my pathway was meant to be, and other people were trying to choose what that destination was rather than allowing me to choose that. So when I went into these AIM doors, everyone around me allowed me to imagine what was possible instead of telling me what was impossible. I think that's something that's so important for our kids these days, is to be able to walk into an environment that no matter what, no matter how big their dreams are or anything like that, that they're going to be supported. So for me, when I saw that space at 14, 15 years of age, I decided that's where I wanted to work. So that's what I've come to do. It took me about 2 times to try and get a shot into this company. And I worked for the Brisbane team in Griffith for about 2 years with some of the kids I actually went to school with. I was grade 12 and they were in grade 8, and that was pretty interesting seeing them grow. out, and now they've graduated, which is super exciting. And from that journey, I suppose, in those 2 years and doing a lot of different things around leadership, uni, all of that sort of stuff, it's enabled me to be into this position now where I'm 10 months into my gig. I've travelled across the country and to the States as well to see where this stuff can go. But I also see the potential of a model that is going to allow us to end Indigenous educational inequality in Australia, which is something that is super important for us. So for me, as a young Indigenous woman in an executive position, it's been really challenging, to be quite honest. Like walking into a room, I could almost make the assumption that walking in here, everyone probably thought I was a high school student. You know, and it's like, oh, I've been out of school for about 5 years, I've got 2 degrees, and I'm working, leading an organisation. But essentially, it's that sort of thing where I do have the opportunity to change perspectives, and I think that's something that we have, not only as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people, but as young people in these sort of areas and wanting to pursue these careers. If we want to go into this space, we've got to kind of, like, I've been in the deep end, like you said earlier, I've been in the deep end a lot this year. But it's that sort of thing where I do get to have a lot of opportunity in this space where I do get to lead a team of people. I'm leading the University of Sydney program, which works with about 300 Indigenous kids from 23 schools in the Sydney region, which is a completely new space for me. But to be able to go to these sort of conferences, learn from other people working in this space, but then also see the potential of this model being able to break down a lot of barriers and to change the narrative that the educational system currently has in the schools. So we're enabling our kids to have those aspirations and to build the capacity for them to be stronger without us, because we're not going to just come in and work with the kids and say that you need to be with us. It's just, how can we support you to be in the area that you want to be so that you can go and take those keys to the city and just jump out and do it. So that's a bit about what I've been able to do, a bit about what the company does. Not a massive idea of it, but essentially I'm super excited because we've just started the program up in Far North Queensland, which I was meant to be in Townsville today, so I'm glad I'm here instead, and I'll be going up to Cairns to deliver that program. So yeah, check us out, and if there's anything that I've learned from today is that there's a lot of change that's happened, but there's a lot of change that still needs to happen, and there's a lot of progress that we can be doing not only as young people but as a people together. But it doesn't happen just with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, it has to happen with the nation, and also more broadly the world, to see that there's an impact that us as a mob can bring to not only nation solutions but also worldwide solutions.